Ebusia ini komo ewo channel social so am say hack saying age politics avenue. Political source trend make us make headlines. And ye jemre na iri bi exomo ewo ase. Yembo enra eye parliament. Onia speaker atintens kokko egu eye Afenyo marking so. Ne nyina ne say was we disobeying directives or parliament. Onia me no ka say Afenyo markings just say or part chow gidigidi onia enya asem koto akra what ye tun no tract a yen semahodo kan ya speaker hunu say ensem fata na at this point in time enra ensimunim ne yenhwe ne ekọ ene de eba chane so am say I have a GH politics avenue yembo enra eye ensimunim.
Conclude it today, and I want that done today, please. So you may conclude, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I accordingly move in terms of my motion and my submissions thereto, Mr. Speaker, so move.
Minority Leader, you must obey my directive.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
I say withdraw and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, you had directed that the concerns raised must be so considered, and I did so. But Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, those concerns, I've taken them back. And Mr. Speaker, I tell them as colleagues, they should let it slide. This is a very good day for all of us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader, you know the standing orders. I don't want to apply it. Withdraw and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, for want of a better word, I say sorry to them. You want the apology? Mr. Speaker, they should accept my apology. Mr. Speaker, they should accept my apology.
Minority Leader, I haven't heard you yet.
Mr. Speaker, I've done so. Mr. Speaker, I have said that those concerns are hereby withdrawn, and Mr. Speaker, they should accept my apology. In all fairness.
Honorable members, the Minority Leader has withdrawn and apologized and is so accepted. Now he has concluded moving the motion, and I'll ask for a seconder. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion on the floor.
Can we stop the noise? Honorable members, please. Let there be silence. Yes, Majority Chief Whip. She hasn't seconded the motion yet. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion on the floor. And in doing so, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the Gold for Reserve program. Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader, just a minute. Yes, Majority Leader.
No, I have no intention to obstruct you, but we just wanted to get some clarity on timing. He spoke for about an hour. That's the majority. The minority leader. He spoke for about an hour, Mr. Speaker, and the person seconding, and those who are going to participate in the debate. I just thought you should give some directions regarding timing. Otherwise, then,
Majority leader, that should have been from the very beginning.
Yes.
Once we didn't do that, leave the issue of timing to me. I will manage it. So I've taken note of everything. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For the third time, I rise to second the motion, and I thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the Gold for Reserve program, it's a very important program. And when you look at the costs involved or the losses involved, Mr. Speaker, I wonder why not so much is being done about it. When you look in the Bank of Ghana financial statements for 2024, it is stated in clearly that the Gold for Oil program incurred a loss of 1.8 billion. And as a result of that, the board decided to stop the program or bring that program to a halt. And then you have a program, the Gold for Reserve program, which is also being managed by the Bank of Ghana. And from the IMF staff report for December 2025, and since we are on an IMF program, the staff report is equally important. It is a document that has authority, and that report says that a loss of $214 million has been made. Clearly, this is even more than the 1.8 billion Ghana cedis that halted the program for the Gold for Reserve, the Gold for Oil. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important issue that I believe that Parliament is being called upon to take up that responsibility, that oversight responsibility, and make sure we do the needful. Mr. Speaker, this brings us to 3 facts. The first, like I mentioned, is the fact that the IMF has mentioned already in the staff reports that $214 million costs or losses have been made by Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, that $240 million is equivalent to 0.2% of our national GDP. It's equivalent to 0.2%, Mr. Speaker, of our national GDP. So it tells you the quantum of cost or losses that we have incurred on this program alone. Mr. Speaker, it will also interest you to know that the gold board, that is the sole aggregator, seller, or whatever, trader for the gold, and Bank of Ghana are shifting blame. Gold board is saying that they are not losses. BOG is also saying you cannot term them as losses. And so I remember on the 12th of January 2026, the governor said that they can no longer bear the costs involved in the Gold for Reserve program, and so there should be burden sharing between Bank of Ghana and Ministry of Finance. Then the IMF came back to tell them that the IMF came back on the 15th of January through the Director of Communications to tell them that this is something that could have been avoided. Clearly, the cost involved is something that could have been avoided because, as they said, the program was never meant to make profits, but if they had put the requisite safeguards, they would have prevented the losses or the huge costs that we have incurred. Mr. Speaker, this is a real loss to the people of Ghana. I say so because the $240 million is equivalent to 29 times the allocation that this House approved for their cherished and most prized policy, the 24-hour economy. It is 29 times the cost of the amount of money that we approved for the 24-hour economy. I thought this was a cherished and a prized policy, and so you rather focus on putting in more money, but yet you've gone ahead to make a loss that is 29 times more than what you put in, the 110 million you put in for the 2020, for your 24-hour economy policy. Mr. Speaker, till date, we are yet to see the 1 job, 3 people, 3 shifts for the Ghanaian youth. Till date, we are yet to see but yet we are able to incur a cost that is 29 times the allocation of the budget that you put in. Mr. Speaker, my leader also mentioned that truly this huge cost or loss is costing us about 30 new hospitals or the completion of 50 of the Agenda 111 hospitals. And I believe that this would have gone a long way. This would have gone a long way to address the no-bed syndrome that is killing a lot of people unnecessarily. Maybe you haven't lost a relative through that, so you can sit here and say what you are saying. But if these losses had been channeled into some of these things, we could have prevented the issue of the no-bed syndrome that we are facing as Ghanaians today. Mr. Speaker, to add to the loss, I would also like to remind this House that in 2025, we approved $279 million for the Gold Board. In 2025, we approved $279 million for the Gold Board. Mr. Speaker, in the 2026 budget report that was presented to us, for the first 9 months, they hadn't touched it. But then we were told that they were going to utilize it in the last quarter. We need to find out how these monies were utilized, Mr. Speaker. That is very important. That is why there is a need for us to set up the ad hoc committee to find these things out. Mr. Speaker, I must also say that there's a pattern here. Losses are declared, losses are denied. Costs are being redistributed in the name of what? Burden sharing. Mr. Speaker, this is not transparency. This is contradiction. And that is why there is a need to set up the ad hoc committee to address some of these things. We were also told that this policy was used to stabilize the city. Surprisingly, it was able to stabilize the city, but it wasn't able to sustain the costs involved. How is that possible, Mr. Speaker? How is that possible? And that is why there's a need for us to set up the ad hoc committee to look at some of these things. Mr. Speaker, there was also another thing that the IMF flagged, and that was a significant downside risk, Mr. Speaker, arising from the program, including 1, the losses from failed trades, 2, elevated fees, elevated off-taker fees, and high operational costs. Mr. Speaker, in plain language, this is it. They are selling at a very low price, they are buying at a high price, and in between that, there's a lot of costs going on. But Mr. Speaker, trading in something as gold shouldn't incur the huge costs that we are seeing. Maybe we can go to the traders in Abosokai for them to teach us that in trading, we buy low, we sell high, and then we make some money for a rainy day. That is what it is. We buy low, we sell high, and make some money for a rainy day so that we don't get to incur the huge cost that we are incurring. That is costing us so much in terms of money. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why there is a need to set up this ad hoc committee to go into this and look into how all these things occurred. Again, Mr. Speaker, there is also a serious allocation with the supply chain integrity. Mr. Speaker, questions are being asked about traceability, the due diligence, and whether illegally sourced gold is entering a state-backed program. Mr. Speaker, this is very, very important. There are questions about traceability, due diligence, and whether illegal gold is being sourced to enter into the state-backed program. But, Mr. Speaker, if that is the case, that illegally sourced gold is entering a state-backed program, then, Mr. Speaker, the government is not just managing a very bad policy, but the government is also institutionalizing an illegality, and that shouldn't be. If this is true, Mr. Speaker, then the government is not only managing a very bad policy, but also institutionalizing an illegality that we should quickly, as Parliament, look at it and make sure we bring it to a halt. Mr. Speaker, another concern has to do with the area of procurement. Concerns have been raised about the sole sourcing arrangements of the sole aggregator for our gold, that's the Gold Board. Mr. Speaker, it started from modernization of office buildings. where close relatives of people very close to the government were given sole source contracts to modernize office buildings. Mr. Speaker, it's also started with the selection of aggregators, and that is why there is a need for us to set up the ad hoc committee to look into this. So, Mr. Speaker, I think some of the questions that we should be asking are: 1, where is the transparency? 2, where is the competition? 3, where is the value for money? Surprisingly, Mr. Speaker, just 3 days ago, we passed the value for money bill. We passed the value for money bill. So in one hand, we are passing a bill. On another hand, we are doing something different. This is what the Gen Zs will say, atasa. Atasa. So it's unbelievable. You can't pass a bill with one hand and do something contrary to the bill that you have passed. Mr. Speaker, there is no value for money, and that is why we are urging you to set up this ad hoc committee to make sure some of these things are brought to the fore. Mr. Speaker, so some of the concerns also being raised has to do with governance. We want to see who are the off-takers, how the prices are determined, and also go into the procurement opacity. Because, Mr. Speaker, we don't understand how procurements are done under this. Mr. Speaker, I remember also last March, the President of the Republic of Ghana, President Mahama, said that under his watch, any entity that makes losses will either be merged or dissolved. This was what President Mahama said, that any entity under his watch, this was said last March, any entity under his watch, if they are making losses, would either be dissolved or merged. So with what is happening with Gold Board, which is the sole aggregator, the sole trader for the Gold for Reserve program, I hope President Mahama will walk the talk. I hope President Mahama will walk the talk. Mr. Speaker, this was also confirmed just recently by our Deputy Minister for Finance when he met SIGA with the other stakeholders, with the entities. He also confirmed, saying that this is the position of President Mahama. And so, like I'm saying, I hope President Mahama walks the talk. Mr. Speaker, we are concerned on this side also because this is the government that described the intervention of 1D, 1F as wasteful. This government described the intervention of 1D, 1F as wasteful, but this intervention provided over 200,000 direct jobs and over 400,000 indirect jobs to Ghanaian citizens. But here we are seeing a loss of $214 million, which is equivalent to 0.2% of our national GDP. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we are impressing upon you to set up the ad hoc committee to make sure we go into this and see how best we can salvage the situation. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion,
just a minute. I see the majority chief whip on his feet. Yes, please. Speaker.
We and some who team course or channel so, Mam and I was so Jim Reda, Senator Badi and Dumbi Adumian, Onia, the best Asia.